simplify that, we've already memorized what's 5 factorial. Grabbing my red pen. The only thing that's different if I have to account for the repetition. What repeats and how often?
6 twice.
6 repeats twice, so I get a 2 factorial. And a 4 repeats twice, so I get a second 2 factorial. So just making a note, this is for the number of 6s. This is for the number of 4s. Or the opposite, doesn't matter. First one can be for the 4s. Gunther, I will like run over there, grab it, and like slam dunk it and do a happy dance. I will do it.
So the 2's in the denominator are a combination?
Yes. So I'm keeping that 120 on the top, and I'm just going to figure out what the bottom is. What's 2 factorial?
2.
What's another 2 factorial? And so if I multiply them together, this is the only thing that's different now. Is now when you're doing permutations, you need to look at what you're permeating and ask, is there anything that repeats? If the answer is yes, you just divide by the repetition. Example number 2. How many permutations are there of the letters in the word Mississippi? What's the first thing we need to count? How many letters does it have?
11?
I feel like 11 has been confirmed.
Yeah.
This is one where I get a little bit lazy and I don't write out 11 blanks. You could, but I know there's no kind of restriction, so I know there's going to be 11 factorial. Again, my brain, if it's smaller, likes blanks, but you don't need to have blanks. It's completely up to you. Now we got to figure out the repetition. What repeats and how often? S's. How many S's are there? P. How many P's are there? And I's. How many I's are there? 4. Have we memorized 11 factorial? No. So this would be a calc question. I enjoy the squeal. If you've got the old operating system, just make sure you're bracketing the bottom. Now don't plug 2 factorial into your calculator. You know 2 factorial is what? 2, save yourself some time. You know 4 factorial. There's our first offer. Confirm or reject. Confirm there, but yet not this side, so let's just make sure that's correct. Confirm. Like, do you have a calculator in front of you?
I tried handy. Excellent idea.
Questions so far? Okay, number 3. Read it and highlight or circle the keywords. What words did you highlight? Only. The numbers. 7-digit. Many, sure. In part B? Greater than. Apparently Simon and I are the only ones circling keywords. Thanks everyone for helping out there. 7 is just a straight up permutation. There's no restriction, so you can either do the blanks or you can just figure out 7 digits. It's going to be 7 factorial. Now we worry about the repeats. What repeats? How many times? 3 repeats twice. Did we memorize 7 factorial? So this would be a calc question. Thank you. Part B, we're now adding restriction with repetition. Why did I put out 7 blanks? Has to have a 7-digit number. This is where I go through in order and I ask myself, can I start with? Can we start with a 2? Can I start with a 3? Is there any restriction on the second number? Okay, what does the second number have to be? Or? Now I go on to case 2. So we did 2, we did 3. Can I start with a 4? Does it matter what the second digit is if I start with the 4? Can I start with a 5? Can I combine that case, or do I have to do a third case? Combine, or you can do a separate, it's up to you. I'm going to combine because there's no restriction on the 4 or the 5. If you'd rather do a third one with 5, there's nothing wrong with that. So I haven't even talked about the repetition yet. All I've set up is the restriction. I'll worry about the repetition at the end. Now that we've set it up, let's figure out what numbers are going to go. No, how many 3s do I have? 2. I'm going to worry about the repetition in its second. I'm not going to worry about it now. How many 4s or 5s do I have? 2 of them. Does it matter what comes next? Okay, so how many numbers do I have left? And then? And then? And then? So I'm just going to do a 5 factorial there. How many 4s or 5s do I have? The next blank. Are we okay so far? I'm just going to simplify this up. I can multiply numbers. I can't multiply a factorial. So 2 times 2 is 4, and I'm going to leave that times 5 factorial. That is not 20 factorial. We can't multiply a factorial with a non-factorial. Now I'm going to worry about the repetition. What repeats and how often? The 3 for the 2s and a 2 for the 3s. And I'll get that number in a second. I'll do all the calculating at once. Simplifying this, all I can do is make it 2 times 6 factorial. That is not 12 factorial. You cannot multiply a factorial and a non-factorial. Same repetitions. I'm still going to have a 3 factorial and the 2 factorial. So do you see how I did the restriction first, worried about the repetition at the end? Offer 40.
Yeah, I got 42.
42.
40 as well, sorry. I should be careful.
This one's actually not bad to do in your head because the 2's are going to cancel. This is going to be 6 times 5 times 4. Then 3 factorials are going to cancel. 6 times 5 is 30 times 4.
Confirmed.
What do I do with these 2 numbers? Why? Because it's different cases. So it's case 1 or case 2. And what does or mean mathematically? Total number of cases. Deal with the restriction first, worry about the repetition at the end.
What would and mean if?
Multiply. So for example, we need a 3 and a 4 and 5 other letters. That's why we multiply. Couple more restriction ones. Read number 4, highlight or circle the keywords. If you do the highlighting on the exam, that can be the difference between no marks and full marks on a question. Because what's going to happen on exam day is you're going to feel stress. Everybody does. Everyone gets that knot in their stomach. Everybody starts to worry. You start to look at the time. It's 3 hours exam. You start to get all crampy and everything else. That's natural. You need to slow your brain down because what happens when you feel stress is your heart rate increases, your blood pressure increases. You need to find a way to slow that down. What a highlighter does is slows your eyes down. And it makes sure you're actually reading every single word. And in questions like this, for example, if you miss the words at least, or you miss only, or you miss except, or you miss not, as in not together, that can completely change the question. Bring a highlighter to the exam. What it does is slow your brain down. Okay, how many blanks?
7.
What's the restriction in part A?
Must begin with the letter R.
Does any other blank matter? How many R's do we have to choose from?
6.
Is that 18 factorial? Why not?
Because you can't multiply a factorial by a whole number.
I call it a non-factorial, but I'll take that mathematically, yes. So I'm just going to write that as 3 times 6 factorial. Now we stop and we get the repetition. I heard a 3 factorial. So we've talked all semester about exam panic, and exam panic is that moment in the exam where your brain goes blank. You've probably been there at some point. When your brain goes blank, you start doing stupid things that I have never done all semester, but your brain takes over and just starts doing it. This is what somebody did last year.
Wow.
Oh, you laugh, but someone is going to do it because your brain takes over and all you remember is cancel, cancel. Can you cancel a factorial with a whole number?
No.
Can you have a just factorial hanging out there with no number? No, 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 no.
316.
We have an, oh, that's okay?
300.
Oh, 360.
That's confirmed. Yes.
Letter B. How many blanks would you like to draw? And just repeating, you don't need to use the blanks. You can use the formula if you like the formula. I just like the blanks. It's how my brain works. What's the restriction? Okay, so what do I need to write to show that?
3 factorial.
This is showing your work, by the way. 3, 2, 1, or 3 factorial, doesn't matter. Bless you, bless you. 7 factorial, 12 factorial. No, just a 3 factorial times a 4 factorial. This would be non-calc, so we would expect you to be able to cancel a 3 factorial with a 3 factorial. Whoa. Why was I like, no, no, don't cancel? And now I'm like, yes, yes, please cancel.
There's no factorial after the 3.
Correct. So if we're canceling a 3 factorial with a 3 factorial, we are A-OK. 4 factorial we memorized is? It depends the way the question is worded, because sometimes they'll say leave your answer as a factorial. If they're just saying how many, they're expecting a numerical value.
But if it doesn't say either.
This, I would say numerical value, because how many, we would never say 4 factorial. We would say 24. Try C all by yourselves. So the difference between vowels and consonants is something we expect you to know. So if English is not your first language, you might want to jot this down somewhere. How many vowels are there in the English alphabet? 5. What are the assumed 5 vowels?
And sometimes Y.
We don't count Y unless the question specifically said Y as well, so it's not counted. If there are 5 vowels, how many consonants are there? 21. Okay, so jot that down if you didn't know that. There are 5 vowels, 21 consonants in the English language. 5.
And
Correct.
And if English is your first language,
Then you should know that.
and you didn't know that, had to then someone's elementary school education.
How many vowels? Following that. Well, why do I need to deal with repetition if the vowels don't repeat? The R's still repeat, and we need to take care of that in here because what we need to eliminate is just an RR flipping or an RRR flipping, which doesn't make a different permutation. So still 3 R's, still 3 factorials.
Hey, we did this already.
We already did this.
Make sure you come up. Yeah, you forgot
We good? Number 5. Answer number 5 on your paper. Tell me the words that you highlighted.
James.
I don't care about his name. Not so much. Nope. The number 4? Yes. Red. 3 green. 2 black. How many? Ways.
Line.
I like the word line, yes. There's still one key, like really important keyword. Identical. Box that, highlight that, circle it, put some glitter on that, some flashing neon lights. If it didn't have the word identical, this would not be a repetition question. But because it has the word identical, it now is repetition. And what's going to happen is your brain isn't going to see this as repetition because it's not like the word hello or Mississippi where you see it. So note, watch for identical colored objects, as I can't spell watch. Watch for identical, can't spell identical either. Colored objects. Your brain's not going to see that as repetition, but if they're identical, it is repetition. People, never repetition. I don't care if they're identical twins, we still count them as different people. Even if you have 2 identical twins, there's still 2 features that they have different. Does anyone know what the differences are? Fingerprints is one. Do you know how fingerprints are formed? It's as you touch the outside of the womb when you're growing. So even if they're twins, they touch it differently. Yes. Yeah, so that's how your fingerprints. You touched your mommy's womb. Look at that. What's the other thing that's completely different, even if you're identical twins?
Name.
The name, yes. The belly button. Why would the belly button be different? Because it's how the cord falls off. So those are the 2 things that are different. So colored objects, not people. We never count people. Oh, because it dries up and then crusts over. And
35 years old at the beach.
just like rolls out. Oh, sorry, gather that out. How many blanks? And this is where I kind of get lazy and I'm not going to draw 9, I'm just going to write. If you'd rather use the formula, this would be a 9p9. That's a 9. Clearly a 9. Yep. Yes, it is.
3 factorial.
Looking for confirmation?
I said it, so I believe it.
That'll keep kid busy for, 30 seconds. Questions? We are done permutations.